Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I want to give you one tip or something to remember versus every hero. It's not necessarily a counter, it kind of is, but it's mainly just something to keep in mind against every hero. So starting off, let's talk about Abrams. Remember, pretty much most of his damage comes from melee, and the players that play Abrams love to just sit there and spam melee. So if you can land your parries, it's a really good option. Items like Restorative Locket is really good against him because it's really cheap, reduces damage from melee taken by 25%, and it gives you a heal on the active, so it's a good item. Debuff removal will also reduce the stun enough off the charge. If he goes for the instant melee, a lot of times you can go for the parry. Bebop, he's actually really easy to counter, but it's good to remember that since this game is third person, he's going to be able to hook you and see you when there are times when you think he shouldn't even have an angle on you, where he's going to hook you out of thin air basically. It's good to keep in mind how many bombs he's landing on you, because even if you're not feeding him kills, if you're feeding him bomb stacks, you're still feeding him. His damage is still going to get crazy. Debuff remover is a really good option against him, especially if he's going Echo Shard and he's trying to do the double bomba build. It's a really good option. You can cleanse the bombs and he'll basically never kill you. It'll make so he can never kill you in a 1v1 late if you have debuff remover. Calico is honestly really easily countered. I know a lot of people say she's overpowered. Even I think she's overpowered. I do think she's a little bit overtuned, but as far as like completely broken overpowered, I don't think it's true. While she has a really strong kit and a get out of jail free card with her ult, she isn't very strong if you play around her. First of all, slowing Hex silences her and slows her because every single one of her abilities is movement based. So it's not actually going to be, she's not going to be able to do anything besides gloom bombs. So that's kind of OP. Also, if you kind of keep a medium distance, you don't have to be super far back. Just sit barely further back than what her claw attack will reach. And anytime she's trying to push in on you, just kind of step back and wait till you can punish her. Calico is going to look for the claw attack. If she goes for the claw attack and it misses, you could punish her pretty good. Also, her ult, when activated, it always takes 3 seconds to detonate the second time. So you could dodge it. You can wait to dash right at the end and dodge it. And with that, all of her abilities have really short range. So kind of keeping medium distance is a really good option. Again, a lot of her damage is melee, so Restorative Locket's a good option against her since it reduces melee damage. And it's a green slot, which is not usually contested as much. Dynamo is pretty straightforward. He's trying to get his ult off, so he's going to try to use, his Warp Stone or something to get into position and ult. If you slowing hex him, he can't use Quantum Singularity, he can't use Warp Stone, so it's going to be pretty easy to counter him. Also remember, when he knocks you up, you're not stunned. You can parry during it. A lot of Dynamos will go for the knockup into the instant melee, which you could just parry. And it's good to keep in mind that he can melee and parry during his heal before it's fully upgraded. Grey Talon, he's pretty squishy. He's going to pretty much lose every single fight if you're on top of him, so items like Warp Stone, Phantom Strike are really good against him. Knockdown's really good against him. It'll just stun him, pull him down to the ground, things like that. Ethereal Shift is generally a good buy against him if he's in the game as an enemy because it'll let you dodge his owl and escape a few deaths. He's always going to build spirit damage since his gun build sucks, so just getting spirit armor will make so he's not really an issue at all. Haze is pretty easy to deal with if you know how. She's really weak early on, so in lane you can bully her. If she misses her sleep dagger, remember it has like a 30-second cooldown to begin with, so you can kind of shove into her, push her out of lane, bully her that way. If she falls behind, she usually stays weak pretty much for the rest of the game. Haze also isn't very scary if she gets ahead, if your team is smart. Because any kind of CC, knockdown, or stun, or whatever, she's gonna just die, even if she's way ahead. Also, pretty much every Haze builds exclusively bullet damage, so Metal Skin, Return Fire are obvious answers for her. Holliday is really strong right now. Honestly, I think she's the most overpowered character in the game, even more than Calico. Her crack shot is insane. During lane, it'll take like half your health to 3/4 of your health if she lands it. So don't take trades with her in lane. If you see her gun glowing like yellow, then it means she has a crack shot available. Wait till she shoots a minion and wastes her crack shot, then go for trades. If she ever gets on top of you, she's going to just stun you and bounce you with the barrel and kill you that way. It's really annoying. This could be avoided by simply just being aware of her positioning, and anytime she's going in for it, if you can dodge the first barrel, usually she's not going to land the next one. The barrel's really easy to dodge. Later on, Holidays like to get Warp Stone so they can use that to get the instant stun off of the jump pad. So things like slowing Hex is pretty good to counter Holiday also, or even knockdown, because a lot of times she's bouncing around in the air. Infernus can't jump during his flame dash, so playing high ground makes so he pretty much can't use that ability offensively at all. He'll just use it to run away. Infernus is always just going to run away the whole time. A lot of his damage is spirit damage, so spirit armor is really good, debuff remover is really good, and his ult is really easy to counter, so he's not really an issue right now, honestly. Ivy Stoneform has a super long cooldown early game. It's easy to bait it out and trade abilities to make her use it, and your abilities will be up before hers. for the most part. So you could just go for another round. Early on, her gun sucks really bad. She does really low damage early on. And her thorns are really easy to avoid. So if you punish her early, that's a good way to handle her. Also, keep track of her ult. Good Ivies will always try to run the urn, and they'll just do solo urn runs constantly. So make sure your team's in a position to stop that. Otherwise, that'll just get out of hand. If you're ever trying to steal mid boss and they have an Ivy, don't try to jump in last second and go for the parry or anything like that. She's just going to stun you and kill you. So all what you have to do is actually go in a little early and start the fight a little early and make her waste her stone form early before, because her whole team is going to kind of sit back and assume that she's going to stop it with her stone form, which will let you get the steal. Kelvin is way too fast to run away from. You basically will never escape from him unless you're LOSing or trying to get around cover to shake him off. If you're running in an open area or a straight line, you're pretty much guaranteed dead. Getting items that have slow resistance is really good versus Kelvin. Items like Enduring Speed, Burst, Fire, Arcane Surge, or Unstoppable are all good options. A good Kelvin pretty much won't be killed, so if you spend your time chasing him around the maps, a lot of times you're wasting your time. If you win a team fight and Kelvin's there half health running away, don't chase him down, push the objective, and let him live, but push the objective. Lash is one of those heroes that need to kind of be ahead to stay relevant. So if you don't let him get ahead and you kind of even stay even with him, that's good enough. But if you make him fall behind, he's pretty bad. Shutting him down with knockdown will stop him. He likes to go for big ults. LOSing can cancel it. Any CC can cancel it. Paradox Swap will cancel it. Knockdown will cancel it. There's a lot of ways to cancel it. And a lot of Lash's damage is spirit. So building spirit armor versus Lash is pretty good. If he's going for big bursts and trying to one-shot you, getting spirit armor, things like that will make so he stops doing that. McGinnis is really easy to win fights if she's trying to take ground, because her turrets aren't already set up and she's trying to push into you. It's really easy to win her. However, if you're pushing into her, she's a lot stronger. So keep that in mind when pushing her rather than her pushing you. If you rotate to her when she's trying to get objectives, she's not going to be very useful. A lot of McGinnises like to sit in side lanes and try to get free objectives and poke around and force rotates, which is fine. Just don't let her get free objectives. You know, if you rotate, you can push her back real easy and then still get to the fight or still get something, or you can even kill her and punish her. A lot of times you can kill her and punish her in a straight up fight, especially like mid-ish game. Not really early and not as much late because she can just run away with her wall, but mid-ish, it's really easy to kill her. Mirage, the first thing I would say, especially in laning, is to keep track of his tornado cooldown. It starts out with like a 32-second cooldown, so if he uses it, he's pretty much weak for the next 32 seconds. He has no way to shut you down, no way to escape, and he's really easy to kill when his cooldown for the tornado is done. Don't take trades with him in lane phase unless you're using abilities in the trade, because if you're just going to poke back with your gun and he's poking back with his gun, his Jin's mark will make so he always wins the trade. But if you trade abilities for a shot or two, that's not that bad. Also, later on, be aware of him teleporting over to fights. If his ult is up, just assume he could teleport in and turn a fight at any moment. So keep track of his ult cooldown. If you're going to rotate to him in a side lane, tell your team and warn them that he might just teleport away and join them, so they might be outnumbered. One thing to remember when fighting Moe Krill is he can't jump during his burrow, and if he tries to get out, he's pretty much stunned for a second as his character spins. So if you're running away from him, try to run vertically, like go up hills, jump up buildings, things like that, wall jump, whatever. If you're going vertical, he's actually really easy to escape. It'll make him get out of the ground, which makes so he doesn't go so fast, and he's stunned for a second. Also, his ult is countered pretty good early on by reactive barrier. It'll make so you get a massive shield that pretty much counters all the damage that you're going to take. And if he doesn't get a lot of stacks on his ult early, he ends up being pretty squishy later on. And he has such a big hitbox, so it's easy to punish. Paradox, if you ever hear a ticking from her kinetic carbine, just LOS and wait it out. It only takes a couple seconds to go away. Don't try to hope she misses or whatever, just wait it out. Don't trade, because a lot of her combo requires her to land her carbide shot. It's a huge chunk of the damage, plus it sets up the swap, it sets up the wall, it sets up the grenade. So if you just either make her miss the carbide shot, which that just requires her to miss, or you could just LOS and wait it out, then you could a lot of times win the trades. She's relatively squishy and she has pretty long cooldowns before she gets cooldown reduction, so wait for her to use her cooldowns and then punish her between. Pocket's damage is insane when he lands his barrage attacks. However, if he doesn't land his barrage, his damage isn't as good. Each missile he shoots from his barrage gives him a stacking buff, which increases his damage. If he lands a couple of stacks, honestly, it's better to just sit back and wait 15 seconds and let it drop off. However, if he misses, you can punish him. He has a 32-second cooldown on it, and he has negative spirit resistance, so he'll take extra damage. He's really squishy early on. Mid to late game, Pockets love to overextend, thinking they can just escape all the time because that's how they kind of play. So getting slowing hex or CCs, things like that, is a good way to get a few free kills on him, which a free pick, which depending on the time of the game, a free pick can lead to an objective or lead to a win. When 7 ults early on, you are going to lose. Do not try to 1v1 a 7 during his ult. Just LOS, let him waste it. And if you're going into a fight with a 7 and he has his ult up, just keep that in mind. Just kind of bait out the ult. Don't even go for the kill. Just go for the ult. As soon as he uses the ult, just back off, LOS, you're good. I wouldn't try to kill 7 during his ult unless you have some kind of stun or knockdown or something to cancel it. Or if he's outnumbered and already low health, then you might be able to kill him. But he's going to get a lot of life still, and he's going to be really tanky. He's going to get a bunch of bullet resistance. He's going to kill you during his ult if you try to fight him. Also, it's important to keep note that you can dodge his stun with debuff remover and with ethereal shift. There's a couple other things too, but those are just available to everybody. Shiv. Shiv is similar to Calico in the sense that his damage pretty much sucks at a distance. He's really high bursty damage like up close, and he has a really good execute with his ult. However, if you keep kind of medium distance, he's not going to be able to get a lot of damage on you. His daggers aren't very good, plus they're easy to dodge. His dash doesn't do anything unless he's right up on you, and his ult, a lot of Shivs only use their ult for the execute. So if you're not low health, a lot of times they're not going to use it. However, if you are low health, you can actually use that to your advantage and bait him into overextending to try to get his ult off. You could cancel his ult with a ethereal shift, a well-timed stun, or like a paradox swap or anything. Pretty much anything that like disables him, you can cancel his ult with. Also, Shivs love to get in your face and try to melee you, so that's another character to practice parrying against. Magnificent Sinclair will have a really hard time if you have a lot of movement speed, since all of his projectiles are extremely slow. His gun is probably the slowest in the whole game. I'm pretty sure it is. His missiles shoot really slow, and the redirect is honestly kind of hard to aim, especially around corners. It's not as intuitive and easy as you would assume. And he does primarily spirit damage, so get movement speed and spirit resistance, and he's pretty much going to be not very good. He's also really squishy early and late game. Even if he's like 3k up, he's still pretty squishy. So if you can get on top of him and use any CCs whatsoever, it's pretty easy to shut him down. Vindicta loves sitting back doing long range damage. She's a sniper, so that's how she's designed. So if you can ever get on top of her, CC her with, knockdown, warp stone, phantom strike, things like that. There's a lot of ways to get on top of her and shut her down and kill her that way. Also I will just mention, in lane phase, keep in mind she has a couple of different angles where she could snipe from one lane to another. Even if she's not in your lane, if you're low health, just pay attention to what she's doing, because she might try to get a free kill on you in lane. Even if you're at your shop, like blue lane and green lane, they can see each other's shops from their side, so you might be sitting there thinking you're safe, and then all of a sudden you get sniped from the side. Viscous is pretty strong early, even without a lot of net worth. If he's landing his abilities, his damage is going to be pretty insane. So if you can be pretty sporadic with your movement and unpredictable, it's actually pretty easy to dodge, but if you're getting hit, it does a lot. His cooldowns are relatively long, so try to use the windows between that to punish him. And if you're chasing a Viscous, don't chase him underground if you know his ult's up. He's just baiting you because he wants to laugh as he bonks you around. Viper is honestly the easiest way to counter Viper is to just realize how squishy he is. He's often trying to run you down and shoot you and slide into you and shoot whatever, so it makes you want to like disengage initially. But if you just actually stand around and take the trade, a lot of time you can win the trades. His damage is pretty insane, but he's also super squishy, and when you get used to shooting him when he's sliding, you realize his head hitbox is like 50% of his whole body, so it's honestly not that bad, and it's really easy to get favorable trades. Slows and stuns are really good against him. Warden often tries to play around his binding word, so you can kind of bait it out and get him to waste it. Also keep in mind his alchemical flash takes off his stamina anytime he lands it, so getting items like extra stamina, it's only 500 souls, it'll give you faster stamina recover plus 1 extra stamina, which is going to be oftentimes the difference that you need to dodge his binding word or things like that. Debuff remover is also really good against him because it takes off binding word, so a lot of times you can kind of bait him out, him thinking that his binding word is about to land and stun you, and he thinks he's going to win the fight, and then you just debuff remove it, get a huge heal and no stun, and you just win the fight that way. You can get free kills on him pretty easily like that. Wraith, a lot of her burst comes from her cards, so if she doesn't have her cards up, it's actually really easy to get favorable trades. Also keep in mind her teleport has a 48-second cooldown, so you can dive her or punish her when you know it's on cooldown. Flowing Hex will also disable her from using her teleport. Debuff remover is really good against Wraith because it can take off her ult completely, and a lot of times they go in thinking that they're going to have free shots and you're just going to stand there, and then you debuff remove it and then you just stun them and kill them, so it's pretty good. Yamato in lane will try to harass you with power slash, and it's important to realize that the power slash hitbox is way bigger than the animation. So if you're barely hidden around line of sight, you're still going to get hit. You have to be pretty well hidden when trying to LOS. And also, I see people complaining about Yamato dashing through walls and stuff all the time. If she gets vision of you for even a second, she can usually flying strike to you, and it will pull her through walls or anything like that. She can go pretty much across the whole map. However, you can use this to your advantage. If you kind of let her peek on you for just a second and you think she's going to flying strike, you can use that to make her overextend and then punish her when she does. A lot of Yamatos like to think they're invincible when they have their ult. She can still die if you're doing enough damage. If she's full health and you're full health and it's a 1v1, a lot of times you just want to disengage and let her waste her ult, and okay, it's fine. But if she ults and you got your whole team on her and she's way overextended, she can still die. With enough damage, you can just shoot her down. Anyway, those are a couple tips for every single guy. I think it's good to keep in mind. I decided to do this video because I keep seeing comments on Reddit complaining about the matchmaking, people complaining about heroes being overpowered or certain items being overpowered or things like that. And really, people aren't even trying to understand the characters or trying to, know how to counter them or know what to do in certain scenarios. And really, at the end of the day, like, it's a test play, right? Like, the game's not even out, so it is what it is. There's going to be things that are imbalanced, and you just play around it and just, oh well, it's still a fun game. But yeah, sorry, kind of a rant there. But yeah, anyway, enjoy your guys' games. See ya.